Hi, I'm Uta Müller, Uta's Media Talk, and I'm here in Canada, Nova Scotia, in Halifax, in the Department of Communities, Culture and Heritage. Here's Mickey Quase.
Hi, I'm Mickey Quase, and I'm happy to be here. I am the Senior Advisor for the Creative Industries Fund with Communities, Culture and Heritage.
And what is the secret behind your department?
The secret behind our department is that it's a wonderful group of people who are dedicated to the different development of all of the different components of communities, culture, and heritage. I work in the heritage and the culture development part, and so my job is to work in this fund. I have another person who works with me. And like I say, it's a devoted group of individuals who are really dedicated to growing culture in the province.
And culture is a big word.
Culture is a big word. And I guess for us, immigration was the basis of culture as we have it here in Nova Scotia. It was a unique entry point for settlers early in the 16 and 1700s, and also, of course, was a gateway in the 1940s to 1960s for people coming in from all over the world, entering Canada for the first time. And that's developed our culture here in Nova Scotia, and that's what we work to help support.
And which culture do you foster? Every culture, French, MicMac, German?
Well, so now you've touched on some of the portion of the communities section of the department, and the communities for us here is the Indigenous community, the African Nova Scotian community, and of course the Acadian community as well. And they have offices within this department and do their own work within their communities. But also, we help to foster the culture within all of those communities. Our programs are open to all Nova Scotians and people who've lived here for a little period of time. So there's really there's no one who's excluded. We're still working, trying to get more of the other cultures to feel like they see a place for themselves within what we offer.
And how do you foster them? With money or marketing?
Well, we foster them in a number of ways, I guess. Initially, just the support, people phoning or writing to us about their various things they would like to be doing. And sometimes they're very they're direct inquiries from a group of people who come from a different place. And sometimes they're struggling to see themselves within, what we're doing. It's not just Scottish, Irish, French, African, and Indigenous that we want. We're really looking to help support people who are new to the country or come from other places. And, government has never been a huge marketer, I guess, of the types of things that they do. So we don't reach out necessarily to individual communities, but we try to be welcoming and try to find a place for anyone who comes in that meets some of the criteria that the programs have.
And what are the criteria?
Well, the criteria are different for each program, depending on whether it's more of a communities program for events that may be populated by amateur people who aren't trying to make their living out of doing one form of thing or another. So we have those kinds of programs that support those local events, and that's, for the most part, that's where we really see the most inclusion with some of the other communities and some of the groups that have immigrated here over time. That's most often thing, a little festival, maybe there's a little German festival in Lunenburg, and they're getting some support to do something. There might be a not-for-profit organization for a different population, and they would come, again, really more to celebrate their culture within Nova Scotia. We have a whole other scope of programs, and I'm really just speaking from the cultural side at this point. We have another group of programs that are dedicated only to professionals. And those kind of things really are visitations to other markets, traveling to places to perform. So the performing artists, it's a lot of touring and development of new markets. In recent years, government has really made a strong effort to help Nova Scotian artists export.
Oh.
And that's currently that's been the area that I've been most active in.
And how do you export these things? Do you export pictures or books?
Well, we like to think that we do it all when we can, subject to how much money we have in different programs. We try to reach as far as possible. So with performing arts, you'll see us supportive of artists or their companies going from Nova Scotia to showcase in different countries, depending on their disciplines. There are lots of opportunities, and because there's no revenues attached to showcasing in different countries, the expenses are quite high, and that's where some of our programs can come in and be handy and help people do that. In the more established exporting industries, like here, music is a very established export industry. We have artists that live in Nova Scotia traveling all over the world on a regular basis. Canada itself is a funny market. You know, it's not big enough to sustain an artist's career. There aren't enough shows. There aren't enough activities for that to be the only place that you go to if you're a professional. So you have to get outside of not only the region, but you have to get outside of the country. And we have numerous music artists who are traveling the world all the time, playing shows, drawing real audiences, selling real tickets, you know, that sort of thing, as well as sort of the more social aspects of some of the performing arts where the money isn't there necessarily, but the interest is.
And does they play jazz or original Scottish songs?
There is definitely more support for people doing original work. But having said that, certainly things that have cultural significance are being taken over, you know, all around the world. So, you know, a big part of our heritage is the whole Cape Breton Island heritage over that seems to have an inordinate amount of people who are creative, living in a very small place. And it doesn't matter where people are from. That's one thing that people coming to Nova Scotia notice right away. If they go to Cape Breton, they say, this place is filled with artists. How did this happen? You know, it seems like every person who was born in Cape Breton plays at least 2 instruments and sings songs. So the traditional music of Cape Breton is highly exportable, as you know, and it travels all the world, and it travels well. And we have dozens of professional artists and acts that are going everywhere in the world playing traditional Cape Breton music. That's always been a mainstay of Nova Scotia. And now as we get older and the culture becomes younger and the other forms of art and music become more popular, younger people are looking to those kinds of music in particular to be pushing and to be saying, this is Nova Scotia too. You know, it's not just the heritage that's Nova Scotia. What about what's happening right now? And so we support that as well.
But what is special in Cape Breton music? What's special?
I think one of the things that's special about Cape Breton music is you can't just sit there and listen to it. Your toes are tapping, your fingers are snapping. There's a beat, there's a feel, there's a rhythm, there's just an ambience that's fantastic, and a passion. And Islanders are an amazing group of people. I find that in general, that Islanders are like that. You know, if you go to Prince Edward Island, you'll find something similar happening over there. Islanders, because of the isolation, they've grown up to feel like they have to be better at what they do than most other people. And Cape Breton is no exception. It might actually be the rule. It might be the bar. There are so many Cape Breton musicians that are just so good, world class and beyond.
Yes.
And so it's really been easy to export the highest quality of that music. A, because people want it, and B, because there are such good quality musicians to be able to send out there and show the world what we do and how well we do it. For music, it's been great. I don't know if you've heard of Celtic Colours. Celtic Colours is this enormous festival that's so successful. And part of its success is because the shows happen all over the island, and the audience is really encouraged to be moving from one place to the next and plan out your trip by the concerts that are taking place in different towns. And so unlike a lot of festivals where you go to one place, you find yourself some accommodation, and then you're just going into that town or city to see a show, Celtic Colours, you're constantly on the move, visiting different places in the island to see different kinds of concerts. And what it's done is it's engaged all of the communities across the island, but it gives the visitor a chance to go and see a huge part of Cape Breton Island, all the while hearing great Celtic music from all over the world. So that's been magnificent, I think, for the growth of traditional music and for keeping it alive, you know. The other music successes, of course, are in the pop fields, the rock fields, the singers. We have great singer-songwriters. We have great storytellers here. That's one of the secrets of Nova Scotia.
And what about Celtic literature?
There's some fantastic Celtic literature here as well, because, again, it's all about the stories. And we have some of the finest storytellers, and we have storytellers and authors who have reached international acclaim through one form or another. And then we have currently one of the things that I do work with in the creative industries is our group of publishers, of book publishers. So we have 13 book publishers that are very active in building their creative content, in marketing it out to the world, in going and traveling to book fairs all over the world. We have some who are more active in trying to build their foreign rights catalogs and get books translated, or buy things, buy stories from other countries and translate them here. And so we have a good selection of things coming out, and not all our publishers are completely about putting out Nova Scotian works, but we're working with them because they're based here, and so we're investing in Nova Scotian companies. But we're not stepping in and telling them what kind of books they should publish. We're saying, your business is important. You're the expert. You tell us what you want to publish. We'll help you do what you need to do.
And how can one apply to a program? And
so the fund that I work with, the Creative Industries Fund, is a little bit different than every other fund and program that comes out of this office, in that government has always invested in not-for-profit organizations and in individuals and small groups who are usually not incorporated. The Creative Industries Fund was created 2 years ago to do exactly the opposite, which was to invest in the for-profit companies that are basically the distributors of all of those industries that we support in the fund, which are book publishing, music, the performing arts. In that way, it's some visual art, it's dance, and it's theater. The fund also invests in production craft and one-of-a-kind craft, and script development in film and television, and fashion and textile is the other one currently. we recognize there's other creative industries, but with the little packet of money that we have so far, we don't even have enough money for those 6 industries. So what we're doing within all of those industries is we're offering assistance for companies to go out into other countries, other territories, and showcase, or it might be like an opportunity to have a display in a gallery if it's visual art, but to get out into the greater world and across Canada to try and build the work that they're able to do, because you need to be international, you need to be global in order to make a living, and well, you need to be global. We have the internet, it's a changed game. You are global the minute that you put yourself up on the internet and say, we're a dance company from Halifax. Well, you're telling the world. So, we're trying to help all of these different industries get further ahead throughout the world. In government terms, exporting is just outside the boundaries of Nova Scotia. In terms of a fund like the creative industries, that's not enough. Exporting even out of the East Coast, the 4 provinces that make up the East Coast provinces, even that's not enough. It's just a region. It still doesn't have enough population to really support these kinds of endeavors. Canada's a good thing, but even it's not big enough to support most of these things. So we really find that the most successful companies are the ones that reach further, the ones that go into Europe, the ones that are trying to get into Asia, and always, as more countries develop and are looking for importing culture, then we have to look at adding those countries into the package and encouraging our artists and their companies to move into those neighborhoods. So there's a lot of funding that goes into sending our people out to opportunities to showcase elsewhere.
Wonderful. And tell me about your goals for the future.
Well, our goals for the future, you've got it there. These are our goals. They're all in here. Last May, Nova Scotia released this document. It's the Culture Action Plan, and it laid out a number of pillars that are important for Nova Scotia culture. So theme 1 is promoting MicMac-Culture. This is the number 1 priority here, and that has a different starting place. It has a place that really needs to have the infrastructure developed between the Indigenous people and the folks here in government to try and help move that forward. We're promoting creativity and innovation, so we're looking for projects that use new technology to disseminate creative ideas. So marketing of products, a lot of it fits into this sort of action. And that's where we like to spend the bulk of the money, is in getting the companies to market themselves outside and getting them to work with folks who are on the ground in the countries that they want to export. So we're helping people get expertise from people who are local to where they're going, and then bring it back here.
Let us come back to the Mi'kmaq culture.
Yes.
Is there any revival of the culture? Everywhere I see communities and big signs at the street.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You'll see all the new signage, in the language, which has been going on for some years now, and always it's odd to say the new thing is to always keep them in mind and really work with them to develop markets for some of their arts and their products, which are fantastic and world class. but the infrastructure hasn't been built in the past.
Oh.
And so now it's a matter really of helping them in their own way to take their products and to market them to the rest of the world. And there always seems to be a fantastic reaction when we get to do that.
And they write songs and play music
They
and
do it all.
paint and
They do it all. There's Alan Sillowboy, the painter, who's world renowned. He's doing multi genre installations. He works with video and he works with painting, and he's a filmmaker, and he makes a drama week and does these features. The drumming still continues. It's so moving, and everybody is just drawn to it. Begin to see them have features in festivals across the province. And really work to promote all the different things that they do. They have a great hip-hop scene.
MicMac hip-hop.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, over the last few years, that's really starting to break out, as it is across Canada. The Indigenous culture is, the young culture, they're hip-hop artists. That's what they're doing. Their poetry is hip-hop poetry, and they're building beats, and they're mixing their traditional music with hip-hop beats and all of that,
yes.
and moving that forward. So within the culture, which is really steeped in tradition and respect of the elders, is this whole young movement that's doing different art, that's fusion art, and the music is a fusion of all different things that are surrounding them. And we're really hoping that over the next few years we can move some people higher up in the level of what they're doing and traveling across the world and letting people know that Nova Scotia has this culture that hasn't traveled around the world to be shown.
And do they have special instruments they play?
Well, they do. I mean, their drums are unique to what they do, and their dancing, of course, that goes along with it. But we do find, like in the hip hop that I've been able to see, and even in the we get some country music too, that comes out of that culture, and it tends to be more like what country music has always been in a regional area, but the real cutting edge stuff seems to be coming out of hip hop, and it's a fusion. So there's lots of beats, there's lots of real instruments that came along with them, and then there's lots of electronica and all the other bells and whistles.
And what is special in their literature when they write poems or novels?
Well, they're the original storytellers, right? And so once again, that's what it comes back to, is they have great stories. They have great stories to tell. It's an oral tradition. And there's a revitalization of young people going back and going to see the elders and learning the stories and then putting those stories forward. And I think all of this is, it's just in its infancy of really growing to be able to be brought out of the region and into the world.
Yes, very interesting. I see here in your magazine, one needs poetry, passion, people, and a plan.
And a plan, and that's where we come in.
Thanks a lot, Mickey.
Thank you so much, Uta.
Hope
It's been
to
a
see you
pleasure
again.
speaking with you. Yes, I hope so too.
By Uta Müller, Uta's Media Talk.